Welcome back everybody, hope you're doing well. In this video we're going to rescape my currently completely overgrown no filter tank and turn it into sort of like a moss ball aquascape for some very special inhabitants. I'm excited, let's get started. Yeah, so this current setup has been up and running since January. It's now like mid-September and this was kind of my first attempt at setting up a no filter aquarium. So the only equipment that we have here is this little budget light. Super simple and I've really been enjoying it. But to make sure that this aquarium is safe for fish and shrimp, we use a lot of fast growing plants. So the plants take care of the filtration, they soak up excess nutrients, the fish produce waste. And it's kind of an ongoing cycle, you know. So I use a lot of fast growing plants. So it's quite a high maintenance aquarium in terms of trimming. Now I try to keep up with it as much as possible, but over the past few weeks I've kind of just been neglecting it. Now in here we still have a few fish and shrimp. So we have a few Phoenix rasboras and there's a couple of really beautiful yellow Neocaridina shrimp. So we need to catch them, of course. So I think we're first going to remove all the plants and remove all the hardscape. Then we can drain the water, catch the shrimp, and they will go in my black water cube. And I think the fish will go in this little nano tank. Okay, the tank is all cleaned up. In the meantime, I've also been acclimating the fish and shrimp, so they're ready to go in now. So let's release them. Rasboras can go in here. It's not food, guys. Should be just fine. And then the shrimp can go in the cube. So in here we have some blue neon rasboras actually. This tank's been set up for 2 or 3 months now. Here you go, guys. Enjoy. Okay, so back to our tank. This is a Strideways 30p. I'm not actually sure about the measurements. I'll put the measurements on the screen, but it holds roughly 12 liters or like, I think maybe 3 gallons, something like that. And the light is a Twin Star B series, so this is a budget-friendly light. It's very cheap, but still packs a punch. Now for the previous setup, I was not using a filter, but I'm going to use a small filter this time. More on that later. I have something really cool for that. And the only thing this tank is still missing is a background. With the previous layout, it was really dense and we didn't even see the background, so we didn't need it. But this layout is going to be more open, so I want to add a simple background to it. Okay, background done as well, so we're all ready to get started. I was actually already thinking for a while to rescape this tank, but I couldn't really figure out what I want to do with it. I mean, I thought we could do another shrimp tank, but I've already done quite a few shrimp tanks on the channel. I also think it's a bit too small for a betta fish. So then I came across these Thai micro crabs. I think they're really cute, they're really cool. I've actually never seen them before, but I've managed to order a few from a fish shop, and I'm going to pick them up in a few days. So the plan is to go for sort of like a rock-only layout with some really nice moss balls, because when I was researching these Thai micro crabs, I saw a picture of a crab sitting on a moss ball and it was just the best sight ever, so I thought that's what I want. So we're going to use a lot of moss balls and yeah, just see if we can come up with something nice. Now most of my subscribers will know that I get my plants directly from Dandelion Plants, and they actually have the perfect product for my little aquascape here. It's a slate rock with a moss ball on top of it, so they just glue the moss ball on top of a little piece of slate rock. So I ordered a few of these, and I also ordered some moss balls separately, so we can use these as well. So let's see if we can make a nice little hardscape with these slate rocks. So I think we all know where I got this method from. So in these 2 mesh bags I have some old Aquasoil from the previous layout. So this stuff contains a ton of beneficial bacteria. So it's going to help us cycle the tank faster. And it's also going to help us create a nice layout with a little bit more height towards the back. But to be honest with you, at this point I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. I was thinking to use some of the other bigger rocks, the serious stones, but I think the contrast is just too big, it just doesn't really look nice. So I think we're just gonna go with the slate rock. I have a few more smaller ones as well. So I think the next thing we need is actually some decorative sand. But I first want to just play around with the rock formation a little bit more. So let's just do a little time lapse. Okay, I went back to my original idea with the other rocks as well, because I just need a little bit more height, a little bit more interest. I think this is looking pretty good. Let's go with the cosmetic sand. For that I'm going to use this stuff, Rio Biotobet Ebon. It's a bit hard to see, but it's like a whitish grayish sand. And there's some grey pebbles in there as well. Some grey gravel. Things might look interesting in here. Let's give it a wash, see if it looks good. The substrate is now perfectly in place, and I think it's looking pretty interesting. I mean, it's definitely different from my usual style, but that's good, you know, sometimes you just need to switch it up a little bit. Otherwise everything is going to look exactly the same. Now we definitely need some more green in here, so I'm going to start adding in some more moss. So I have 3 of these tiny moss balls. We can open these up, split these into tiny portions, and also like glue them to this bigger rock, for example. I'm going to glue some to smaller rocks and just kind of place them randomly everywhere. And then I also have this top right here. This is flame moss. I'm going to do the same thing, just glue it to some smaller pebbles and just place it randomly throughout the entire aquarium. Right, so we just have a tiny moss ball, and then we can just carefully just kind of pull it apart. And then we make it a little bit flattish. And it's not going to do anything to the moss, it's just going to stay exactly the same. So now we have a flat piece. And we can actually just rip it apart as well, doesn't matter. So we take a small piece of slate, add a little bit of super glue, and then just attach the moss, and that's it. Super simple. So here we have the flame moss, same thing, just glued to a flat slate. I'm going to use this mostly in the background because it will grow upright. I think that's going to look pretty cool. So just behind over there. And this little canyon here as well. Now from the previous layout I found some really nice small Bucephalandra. Look at this. Super cute. And I also found some really small Anubias. I think that will really match perfectly if you just put a few of them randomly here and there. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, I think this is going to be the last plant. I have a little bit of dwarf hairgrass. I think just a few plugs of it, just here and there. Yeah, I think that will really finish the layout. Yeah, I think that's it. Those small Anubias and the small Bucephalandra really made it even more interesting. So it looks pretty cool. And a little bit of hairgrass also just made it even more natural, you know. So I think next time we just have to fill up, and then we can start adding the filter, because we have something interesting for the filtration. Okay, our moss ball aquascape is filled up, looking good. Definitely stands out on the shelf over there. So the only thing we need to do now is to install our filter and then wait for the aquarium to cycle, and then we can add the Thai microcrabs. It's probably going to take like 2 weeks, but you guys are going to see that later in this video. Now, with the previous setup, we didn't really need a filter because we had a lot of fast growing plants and a thick substrate layer. And here we just have only slow growing plants, so we definitely need a filter. But we need a small filter. Now, we could use a small internal filter, but it's a bit ugly. We could use a hang on the back filter, but I'm not really a big fan of that. I want a external canister filter, but it has to be small. Now, luckily enough, like literally a few weeks ago, this company reached out to me. This company is called Mini Complete Tank, and they make a lot of really tiny stuff. So they make this really small aquarium, And they also make, or they sell really small external canister filters. Like this one over here. Look at this, guys. It's literally the smallest external canister filter I've ever seen. I actually have two. This one is even smaller. So they sell this as a complete setup. I mean, this is the canister itself. And then it also comes with, look at this, super tiny lily pipes. Super cute. And it comes with everything you need. We have a small pump, works with USB. And then you get a USB charger as well. You get some silicone tubing. I think that's it. Yeah, so you have a complete filter. Look at how small this is, guys. This is insane. So I'm gonna go with this smaller one. I mean, the stainless steel looks nicer, but this one actually also has an option to add some CO2 in here. So that's pretty cool. So the CO2 just gets added in here, and then it gets mixed in with the pump basically. So that's pretty cool. So it already comes with some media inside, just a little filter floss. There's some, a little grate as well in there as well. So we add this back in, and then I just have a little bit of biomedia, perfect amount. And I'm going to top that with some white filter floss. Okay, so it's all filled up with media, so we can add our pump. Should be just a simple, that's it. Pump is attached. So this is where the water gets pushed out and here it gets sucked in. So we need to add some tubing to that. We have two pieces of tubing. This one has a slightly thicker piece, so I think this is for the inlet, I guess. And then the other piece of tubing we can use for the outlet. Here we go, filters in position, outflow in front, inflow in the back. Filter is behind the tank, looking good. So I say let's give it a spin. That is so cool. We have some movement. I literally have the pump on the lowest setting. I think you can see it, there's just one light, so that's the lowest setting of the pump. And it's pushing some serious flow around. Okay, fast forward, it's now been a week since we set up this tank, and I just came back from the fish shop with the Thai micro crabs. We've got 6 of them, super exciting. So I'm gonna start acclimating them and then look for my macro lens, I think, because these guys are super tiny. But yeah, normally I would like to wait a little bit longer before we add new inhabitants to a new setup. I mean, it's only been 7 days. But remember, we've used the old Aquasol from the previous tank, which was already full of beneficial bacteria. And I've also been adding cecum stability for these past few days. And I just did a test this morning for nitrate and ammonia, and everything came back just fine. So we're ready to release these Thai micro crabs. After releasing them in the aquarium, they were in no rush at all to start exploring their new home. They just held on to their net and didn't move a muscle. So I placed my camera on a tripod and I went on with my day. After a short while, one of them started to walk around a little bit, and then he dropped himself to the ground and immediately disappeared underneath a plant. A few hours later, the situation hadn't changed unfortunately, and it was just time to go to bed. The next morning I turned on the lights, hoping to see my new 8-legged friends crawling around the tank, but that wasn't the case at all. While they had left their net, they were nowhere to be seen. After a few minutes I spotted one hiding underneath some moss, so I quickly grabbed my macro lens to get some better footage of him, but he had no intention of showing himself in front of the camera. I thought I might be able to draw them out with some food, so I took a little piece of an algae wafer and dropped it right in the center of the tank. Almost immediately the crab that I saw hiding earlier started to kick his legs, so I thought my plan was working and I waited for him to come out. Another 15 minutes went by and I was starting to get a little bit worried. I really needed to get some quality footage of these crabs, otherwise I couldn't finish this video. And then it happened. The big guy, the one that was first to leave the net the day before, came crawling from underneath the big rock straight towards the front glass. I was so happy this beautiful creature finally came out. He even climbed on top of a moss ball, and it was exactly like I had seen in the pictures when I was researching these guys a few weeks ago.